You ever walk through your hometown and just, look at the old buildings and wonder what stories they could tell? Well, today we're going to look at a project that does way more than just wonder. It actually turns local history into a game, a kind of digital love letter to a small town in Maine. Let's dive into how they pulled it off. No, I mean, really think about that for a sec. What if you could build those landmarks you pass by every single day? Manage the very industries that put your community on the map and watch your town grow through history right there on your screen. It's a pretty powerful idea, right? And that's really the core of what this is all about. And this whole thing didn't start in some giant game studio with a crazy budget. Nope. It started with one person and a really cool idea. A developer named Matthew Chapdelaine thought, hey, I want to make a game like Forge of Empires, but base it completely on my hometown, Rumford Falls, Maine. All right, so how do you take that little spark of an idea and turn it into, well, a digital forge? It all starts with a change in perspective. You have to start seeing your hometown as more than just the place you live. You have to see it as the perfect setting for an adventure. The whole vision here was to make what he called a love letter to Rumford. A game where you, the player, could actually harness the power of the real-life Androscoggin River. You could build the historic paper mills that were the lifeblood of the town and literally watch it grow. It's all about making history something you can touch, something you can play with, something personal. Now, you might be thinking, an idea this big sounds kind of impossible for just one person, right? But the actual blueprint for building it? It's surprisingly straightforward. And that's all thanks to some really powerful and accessible tools. So let's break down that toolkit. Okay, so the heart of this whole project is something called the Godot engine, and it was the perfect choice for a couple of really big reasons. First off, it's totally free and open source, so zero cost barrier. Second, it has a built-in support for that classic isometric 2D view you see in all the best city builders. But here's the kicker. It exports directly to the web. What does that mean? No downloads, no installations, you just click a link and you're playing. That's huge. And get this, look how simple the setup is. You're not fighting with some super complex configuration. It's basically 3 steps to get a game grid up and running. This is what we mean when we talk about accessibility in game dev. It just lowers that barrier to entry so creators can actually focus on the idea, not get bogged down in the technical stuff. The best part? You're not starting from scratch. You can think of these as like power-ups for the developer. There are free plugins out there that just handle the basic city building mechanics for you. There are even free art packs so your game can look good right from the start. It's like someone handed you the foundation, and now you just get to build your amazing vision on top of it. So you've got the tools, now comes the really fun part. How do you take real-world history, the old photos, the stories about a town, and turn all of that into actual playable game elements? This is how the game gets its story, its backbone. See, your progress in the game isn't just about leveling up. It actually follows the real history of Rumford. You start way back in the Industrial Revolution, building the first mills. Then you move into this Magic Town boom era, and finally, you get to the modern day. Every single stage unlocks buildings and challenges that are pulled straight from the town's actual history. And this is where it all just clicks. The real-life Rumford Falls Power Company? That's your first power plant in the game, the thing you have to build early on. Those historic paper mills, they're not just pretty buildings, they're the engine of your resource production. And the old blocks on Congress Street? Well, that's where your people live. See what's happening? History stops being the background. It becomes the game. Okay, but building the game is really only half the battle, right? The real magic happens when the people, the community this whole thing is about, can actually play it. And that's why the decision to make it a web app was so important. And check this out. The process for sharing it is ridiculously simple. Inside the Godot engine, you're literally just a few clicks away from exporting all the files you need for a web browser. Then you just upload those files to a free site like itch.io or GitHub Pages, and boom. Just like that, your little local history project can be played by anyone in the world. So what does all this mean? It means the game isn't stuck behind some app store or a big download button. It's a real, playable piece of history that anybody can get to instantly with just a simple link. It just removes all the barriers, which makes it a true digital love letter that the whole community can open up and enjoy. So when you look at this whole process, right, from just a simple idea all the way to a game anyone can play, it kind of makes you ask a bigger question. It's almost like an invitation for all of us to look at our own hometowns a little differently. 38. That's the number of historic buildings in just one of Rumford's historic districts. That's over 38 potential buildings for a game, 38 potential stories, 38 different mechanics, just sitting there in one neighborhood. Now, just for a second, think about what that number might be in your town. The inspiration, the source material, it's literally all around us. So, what have we learned from all this? What are the big takeaways? Well, for one, the tools to build these amazing interactive worlds, they're not locked away in big studios anymore. They're free and they're for everybody. We've also seen that some of the best stories you could ever tell might be right outside your own front door, hidden in your town's history. And finally, we've seen how easy it is to share those stories with the entire world with literally just a few clicks. And that kind of leaves us with one last question, doesn't it? We've just seen how one person turned Rumford Falls into a living digital world. So what about your town? What are the landmarks, the big events, the forgotten stories in your community that are just waiting for someone like you to tell them?